Welcome to the Depth Dive. Our mission, as always, is pretty clear. We take complex source material, could be history, science, theology, whatever, filter out the noise, and really try to extract the deepest, most usable insights for you, the learner.
And today, we're tackling something foundational. I mean, really core to Christian identity, and you could say it's operational manual. We're doing a deep dive into those biblical metaphors, salt and light.
Right. And we're working from material that treats this as way more than just, good advice.
Exactly. It's presented as core identity stuff.
That's the key distinction, isn't it? We're looking at a resource that really unpacks this mandate, which originates in the Sermon on the Mount as the absolute core identity and mission for followers of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And the framework we're using breaks it down pretty systematically. You've got 4 dimensions: the scriptural origin, the cultural symbolism behind it all, the core faith principles, and then finally the practical, maybe even demanding requirements these metaphors put on, on our daily lives.
Yeah, and to really get the weight of this, we kind of have to reset our thinking. It's easy to just think, oh, salt, shaker on the table, light, flip a switch.
Sure.
But we need to understand the intensity of these images back then, the scarcity of salt, its historical value, and the deep theological roots that made these specific words so powerful when Jesus first spoke them, 2,000 years ago?
So basically, the material we're looking at suggests this passage isn't just part of the message, it's almost Jesus's primary definition of who his followers are supposed to be in the world and what they're for.
It's an entrustment. A huge one.
An entrustment. So let's frame the central question as we dive in. How do we understand the really profound meaning of salt and light in the Bible, going beyond just, simple moral sayings? Okay, let's start right at the source. Where does this actually come from? We're pinpointing it in the New Testament,
right.
Specifically Matthew's Gospel, chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. And it's delivered not just as like a side comment, but as a key part of Jesus's foundational teaching, what people call the Sermon on the Mount.
And that context is huge because the Sermon on the Mount, it's kind of like the constitution for this new community, this kingdom Jesus is establishing.
A countercultural one.
Totally countercultural.
Yeah.
It's not just ethics. It's defining a whole different way of being. And right in there, this passage, it's a direct, sharp address to his disciples. It's bold. He says, "You're the salt of the earth."
Not you should try to be.
No, you are. And then the warning, but if the salt loses its flavor, it's useless. And then immediately after, you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden.
That present tense, you are, it really hits you, doesn't it? He's not dangling a goal out there, something they need to struggle towards. He's defining their state, who they are in the world, right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
But hang on, doesn't that create a bit of tension for anyone listening? If I am salt and light already, why does it often feel like I need to constantly try harder, strive to be good or righteous?
Yeah. That's the big theological nod, isn't it? And our source material actually helps untangle that, which we'll definitely get into later in section 4.
Right.
But for now, let's just focus on the context of this calling. The source emphasizes this teaching wasn't just random, it wasn't out of the blue, it's rooted in this pattern you see throughout the Bible. God consistently calling out a specific group of people to carry his name and his mission.
Like extending that idea of the chosen people.
Exactly that. In the Old Testament, you see that distinct identity and mission, primarily with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
They were set apart, to be a witness to the one true God among all the other nations.
Right.
And in the New Testament, this mantle, it extends to all followers of Christ, Christians. This passage in Matthew 5, you could almost see it as the handover ceremony.
Okay, so it's doing 2 really foundational things for anyone hearing this. It defines their, what did the source call it? Identity positioning.
Yeah, identity positioning.
Yeah.
Who they fundamentally are, set apart for God.
And their mission direction. Right.
What they're supposed to do with that identity.
Huh.
Which is basically engage with the world.
So it's the ultimate mission statement and job description kind of rolled into one incredibly potent image.
Exactly. And if you miss that historical context, that covenantal background, you might just read these words as, nice poetry or good advice.
Yeah.
But when you place it inside that big story, God's story with humanity, it becomes this absolute non-negotiable mandate. It's about fulfilling a purpose that was set up centuries before Jesus even walked the earth.
Okay. Powerful stuff. Let's unpack the first image then. Salt. Before we get too deep into the theology, we really need to grasp why salt was such a potent symbol back then in that specific time and place, ancient Galilee, Judea.
Hmm.
We need to kind of transport ourselves back 2,000 years and understand its value in daily life, even its economic value. We still have that phrase, worth your salt, but most of us, we've kind of forgotten the origin of the why. Our sources really stress that in Jesus' time, salt wasn't just a sprinkle on your food. It was essential, scarce even.
Oh, absolutely. That's what's so fascinating. Its scarcity and its necessity made it incredibly valuable. Historically, there were times and places it was literally used as currency.
Like actual money.
Yeah, we know Roman soldiers, for instance, were sometimes paid part of their wages in salt. That's where our word salary comes from, salarium.
Wow, okay.
So that immediately lifts the metaphor, doesn't it? Jesus isn't saying his followers are, common or cheap. He's saying they're indispensable. They have real high value, both monetarily in a sense and for the community.
So when he says, you are the salt of the earth, he's basically telling them, look, you possess this high-value, non-renewable resource that is absolutely essential for society to function, to remain stable. It implies you need them.
You absolutely need them. Now, the symbolism itself, the practical meaning of salt, it's tied to two really critical roles beyond just its financial worth. The first one, and maybe the most crucial back then, is its preservative power.
The anti-decay thing.
Exactly. Think about it. No refrigerators in the ancient world. Salt was absolutely critical for curing meat, preserving fish, stopping food from rotting quickly, especially in hot climates.
Right. Without it, food spoils, disease spreads, famine happens.
Yeah. It was a matter of survival.
And the sources draw a direct line from that physical necessity to a really profound spiritual analogy. How does the believer act as a moral preservative?
Right. The idea is that Christian life is meant to function like that salt, to act as a moral preservative in a world that the source material describes as, well, prone to decay. Moral decay, spiritual decay, characterized by things like selfishness, injustice, sin, and the believer's role. It's to use the principles of God's truth, things like, radical love, unwavering integrity, honesty when everyone else is cutting corners, forgiveness to actively push back against that corruption.
So it's not about hiding away from the corruption. It's about getting in it, engaging with the decaying element to somehow stabilize it, slowing down the moral breakdown in the culture just by being there and living differently.
Precisely. Think about a modern workplace, maybe. Gossip is rife. Maybe people are backstabbing. Cutting corners is just the norm. The believer, acting as that moral salt, doesn't necessarily stand up and preach sermons.
Right.
But their consistent refusal to join the gossip, their integrity with money, their patience when things get stressful, that creates friction against the decay. Just by being there living differently, they slow the rot. They offer another way to operate.
That makes the preservative role both passive and active, doesn't it? Passive because they just don't join in the bad stuff, but active because sticking to the truth inherently challenges the way things are.
Exactly. Then there's the second role, the flavoring power. Salt makes bland food taste good, makes it palatable.
Okay, so this is more active contribution, moving beyond just stopping the bad to adding something good.
Yes, positive influence. Spiritually, this symbolizes that positive impact Christians should have. It's about adding something necessary to something life-giving. The source talks about practical relational stuff here, like using gentle words when maybe you're provoked and anger is expected, actively helping colleagues or neighbors when they're struggling, standing firm for justice, but doing it in a way that doesn't just condemn, but actually brings some warmth, some hope into the situation.
So making life less bland, less dry. If someone's life feels defined by, anxiety or cynicism, the flavoring presence of a believer should actually introduce something tangible, peace, generosity, real hope, making the world genuinely better just because they're in it.
Yeah, it's often in those small moments of unexpected grace. Maybe someone cuts you off really aggressively in traffic. The expected reaction is rage, right?
Sure is.
But maybe the believer internally just offers a quick prayer for that person. That small internal act stops the external harshness that's flavoring the environment, even if no one else sees it directly. It's the active ingredient that can warm up cold relationships.
Okay, but then we hit that crucial warning, the pivot point in the text. If the salt loses its flavor. And this wasn't just theoretical, was it? It was a real possibility back then.
Oh, very real. The salt they often got, especially around the Dead Sea area, wasn't pure sodium chloride like our table salt. It was often mixed with other minerals like gypsum.
Okay.
And if that salt got wet, say left out in the rain, The actual salty part, the sodium chloride, could leach out. What was left looked like salt white, powdery, but it had no taste, no preservative power. It was literally useless.
What did they do with it?
They'd throw it out on paths, on roads, just to be trampled underfoot. Worthless.
And the spiritual interpretation of that is, well, it's chilling. Losing flavor means losing your influence and impact.
Right, and the source is really clear about how flavor is lost. It happens through compromise. Usually not some big dramatic event, but a slow leaching away.
How so?
It happens when believers start to abandon those core faith principles, when they start just blindly following the crowd, maybe adopting the same ethical shortcuts or sinful attitudes they're supposed to be resisting.
So, if the believer starts looking and acting just like the culture they're meant to preserve or flavor, if they adopt the same selfishness, the same cynicism, they lose their unique purpose.
Exactly. They become like that mineral residue. They might still look like a Christian, go through the motions, but the actual preservative power, the unique flavor, it's gone.
They're neutralized.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Salt's value is its utility. If the utility disappears, its high value crashes to zero. It's a serious warning that this mission demands distinctiveness. You can't blend in.
Okay, let's shift gears now. From salt, which seems more about internal stability and influence, to light, the external, visible mission. The sources really anchor the meaning of light directly to God himself, right? To creation and his own identity.
Yes, this is critical. Light is theologically primal.
Yeah.
Think back to Genesis 1, the very first act of creation God performs. Let there be light.
Yeah.
That act immediately establishes light as representing God's creative power, his order, his purpose breaking into the void.
So from the very beginning, light stood for God's presence, for truth, for hope. The direct opposite of the initial darkness, which kind of represents chaos, confusion, sin.
Exactly. And then, fast forward, Jesus himself declares in John's Gospel, chapter 8, I am the light of the world.
Right. The ultimate source.
The ultimate source. So by extension, when he turns to his followers and says, you are the light of the world, he's essentially commissioning them. They become witnesses of the light. They don't generate it themselves, but they are designed to reflect and transmit his light.
Okay. And like salt, this light metaphor also seems to have a couple of core meanings. Visibility and guidance seem key. The first one is dispelling darkness.
Yeah. Light, just by its nature, doesn't compromise with darkness, does it? You can't really mix them. Even a tiny bit of light immediately pushes back the dark that finds the space.
True.
So the mission for the Christian, as light, is to reveal truth. Where there's darkness, maybe exposing systemic lies, injustice, areas where things are morally murky.
But that sounds potentially dangerous. If light exposes things people want hidden, doesn't that often attract hostility?
It absolutely can. And the source material acknowledges that. This function needs balance. Light reveals the truth about sin and confusion, yes, but it's not just about exposure. It's also meant to offer guidance and hope.
How so?
It's like a lighthouse. It warns of danger, yes, but it also guides ships safely to harbor. So light offers comfort to those lost in pain. It offers direction to people confused about life's meaning or purpose.
So the mission is active. Christians need to use the truth they have, not just to condemn, but to actually help others see the right way forward, to break free from whatever is binding them, whether it's sin or despair. The clarity of light should bring freedom.
Exactly. Then the second core meaning is manifesting glory. Jesus specifically says, don't hide your lamp under a basket. That's a clear command for visibility. The mission of light is to be seen.
Makes sense. In the ancient world, a lamp was valuable. You wouldn't light one and then immediately cover it up. Defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah.
But this leads to that really crucial warning, the caveat our sources highlighted. This visibility, it's not for self-promotion. It's not about showing off how good you are or trying to get praise from people.
This is a vital theological point. If your good deeds make people say, wow, look how amazing that person is, then you've kind of hidden the light, haven't you? The focus is on the lampstand, not the source of the light. The visibility has to be instrumental.
So the ultimate goal, according to the text, is that other people see these good deeds, these acts of love, integrity, service, and they recognize something extraordinary is going on. And they trace it back to the power behind the person, the nature of God himself, and ultimately give glory to your Father in heaven. The light points away from the person reflecting it, towards the source.
Yeah. That takes real humility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To be highly visible, yet constantly deflecting the credit.
It does. Great visibility coupled with deep humility.
So, if the light shining from a believer's actions inspires awe, not in the believer themselves, but in the God who motivates them, that power of love, that righteousness, then the mission is achieved. The light serves as that active external witness to God's character.
Okay, let's try and pull these threads together now. We've looked at salt preservation, flavor,
Yeah.
light illumination, witness. Honestly, it sounds incredibly demanding, a huge responsibility.
It does.
But the article we're drawing from takes this really profound turn here. It emphasizes that being salt and light isn't primarily meant to be seen as just another moral chore list. It's not just one more set of ethical rules to follow.
And that's the theological breakthrough, really, because if you view this as just a list of things you have to do, you're constantly striving, you're probably failing a lot, you get exhausted.
Yeah.
The core message here is that salt and light is an established identity and mission that's given by God when someone comes to faith in Christ. It's a reality you receive, not just a standard you're trying to reach.
Can we make that clearer, like maybe with an analogy? How is this different from just trying to be a good person?
Okay, think about fire. Does a fire try to be hot?
No, it just is hot.
Exactly. Heat is the natural, inevitable result of what fire is. Or a diamond, it doesn't struggle to be hard. Hardness is just part of its fundamental nature. The source explains it like this. When someone receives faith, they receive the actual nature of God, His love, His righteousness, His holiness implanted within them.
Okay, so being salt and light isn't about working up saltiness or brightness. It's the natural overflow of this new life, this new identity that's already been established. It's more about removing the things that block or contaminate that inherent nature.
That's a great way to put it. Removing the contamination, taking the basket off the lamp. It's about letting what's already inside flow out.
And this shift in perspective, it answers that really fundamental question, doesn't it? Why are Christians even here? Why do they exist in the world?
Exactly. If the goal was just, personal self-improvement or achieving moral perfection on your own, maybe the best thing would be to isolate yourself, focus on your own piety.
Right, go live in a cave somewhere.
Sort of. But the mandate here is fundamentally outward. Salt preserves something else. Light illuminates for others.
So the answer is, they exist to be a kind of bridge between God and the world. They're meant to be the tangible connection point, allowing people who are outside the faith to actually see and maybe recognize God's love and truth through real, observable actions and a stabilizing presence.
Precisely. If the main goal was just save yourself, the instruction might be run away from the darkness. But instead, it's you are the light of the world.
Yeah.
Shine in the darkness. That tells you the believer's existence is fundamentally relational. It's missional.
Yeah.
They're meant to be a necessary ingredient for the rest of humanity.
Wow. Okay, so this identity means that basically every single part of a believer's life, from quiet thoughts to very public actions, is now a potential place for this salt and light mission to happen.
Every part. No exceptions. And this is where it gets really practical. We move from this maybe slightly abstract identity concept into concrete daily actions. The real power of this teaching is how it plays out, focusing on life, influencing life. And the source material gives a pretty robust breakdown of how these roles of salt and light actually look in different areas of life.
Right, let's get into the specifics. We'll start with salt the preservative, the flavoring agent in our closest relationships, because that's often where our true flavor comes out, or fails to. Tag 5.1, living as salt the preservative and flavoring role in relationships. Okay, first circle. The family. This is where we're usually most comfortable, maybe where we let our guard down, and perhaps where it's easiest to lose our saltiness through things like irritation or impatience. What does being salt look like at home?
Well, flavoring in the family, it's about practical transformation. It means consciously choosing to replace, say, arguments and harsh words with tolerance, with really listening. It means swapping self-interest or keeping score with selfless giving, trying to make the home genuinely a warm harbor, a place of refuge.
That sounds nice, but hard. What about the preserving part in the family?
Preserving there means actively rejecting those behaviors that just erode relationships, things like chronic lying, manipulation, or just plain selfishness where your needs always come first. A believer acts as salt by trying to consistently hold a standard of truth, patience, integrity, even when, maybe especially when, others in the family aren't.
Okay, moving out a circle. The workplace. People often say this is the toughest place to maintain integrity. So the preserving role must get really tested here.
Oh, absolutely. Preserving at work often means replacing just doing the bare minimum, perfunctory work with real diligence and dedication. It means replacing opportunism, always looking for how to get ahead, maybe at others' expense, with solid honesty.
Even when it costs you.
Especially when it costs you. The source emphasizes maintaining ethical principles, even when there's pressure to compromise, maybe from bosses or colleagues, or even when you see injustice happening.
Like refusing to fudge the numbers or cover up a mistake, even if telling the truth might get you in trouble. That's real preservation, but it's risky.
It is risky. And the flavoring role at work, that's about actively helping colleagues, maybe sharing your experience or knowledge freely instead of hoarding it, taking time to encourage others, celebrating their wins, basically trying to foster a more positive, collaborative atmosphere where maybe cynicism or competition usually reigns.
Building real community instead of just surviving the week. Okay. And finally, salt in the wider society. This is about our role as citizens, our interaction with the community beyond just work and family.
Right. Flavoring in society, the source suggests, means looking outwards, particularly towards those who are vulnerable or marginalized. It means extending practical help maybe to the poor, the lonely, the sick. It means actively refusing to be just an indifferent bystander. You see a need, you try to move towards it.
And preserving in society. That sounds like it might involve confronting decay more directly, maybe speaking out against injustice.
It often does, speaking out against things like deception, oppression, systemic unfairness that is necessary preservation. But the source adds a really important nuance here. It needs to be done with a gentle yet firm attitude.
Ah, not just angry shouting.
Right. Challenge the decay, yes, but with grace. The tone matters, so the preservative doesn't end up tasting bitter or just polarizing everyone. Tag 5.2, living as light, the illumination and guidance role in witness. Okay, now let's shift to the outward expression, to light, the illuminating guiding role. The force highlights two really key ways the light shines, ways that are crucial for witness. The first is using words to convey truth.
And again, the sources stress this isn't about stiff, formal preaching, is it?
No, definitely not. Just reciting dogma, especially rigidly, often pushes people away. The focus here should be much more on sharing authentically how your faith has actually helped you navigate real life, helped you face pain, or find clarity when you were confused, especially when you're talking to someone going through something similar.
So it's rooted in empathy, testimony driven by shared experience.
Exactly. Highly contextual, highly relational. The text gives some powerful examples.
Like what?
Like maybe to someone who's heartbroken, crushed by loss or betrayal, the light shines not by giving easy answers, but maybe by saying something like, I know this pain feels overwhelming, but I want you to know God's love won't abandon you. I have felt his presence even in my darkest times. Or to someone who feels totally lost, paralyzed by choices, maybe saying, look, I was there too, didn't know which way to turn. Following Jesus actually gave me direction, a purpose I couldn't find anywhere else. He can do that for you too. It's offering a potential solution drawn from your own story, not just throwing rules at them.
That feels more natural, more inviting. Okay, the second way light manifests is through actions to manifest truth. This is where belief becomes tangible, right? Visible love.
This is where people feel the warmth of the light, not just hear about it. It means moving beyond words to practical help. The sources mention things like volunteering your time during a community crisis, maybe delivering groceries to someone housebound, or simply offering consistent companionship to someone who's really isolated.
So the person receiving the help experiences the love directly. It's undeniable.
Exactly. It's visible love, tangible proof that the words about God's care aren't just empty platitudes.
And this brings us back full circle, doesn't it, to that critical command from Jesus, refusing to hide the light. This is the challenge of integrity, the point where living this out might have the highest personal cost.
This is where fear often comes into play. Hiding the light usually means giving in to fear of being laughed at, fear of looking weird, fear of inconvenience, maybe even fear of losing your job or damaging your reputation.
So living out this faith authentically, being salt and light consistently, it takes real courage. Because sometimes, maybe often, it means going against the flow, standing out when it's easier to blend in.
The stakes could be very practical, very day-to-day. It could be being the only one in a meeting who questions something unethical. It could be choosing to spend your time or money helping someone in genuine need, even when it messes up your own plans.
Right.
That moment of choosing principle over popularity or service over personal comfort, that's not just preservation, that's the light shining really brightly. It shows that the identity we talked about, that inherent nature, is actually alive and active.
So maybe the most powerful witness isn't always the big dramatic gesture, but that costly, quiet moment of choosing integrity when no one expects you to. Hashtag tag outro.
So we spent this deep dive really trying to synthesize the profound meaning packed into these two seemingly simple biblical words, salt representing the power of life influence, stabilizing, flavoring, pushing back against decay through moral presence and positive action.
And light, representing the power of truth, witness, illuminating the way, guiding people, and allowing the world to glimpse God's glory through practical compassion and visible integrity.
The essence, really, as the source material wraps it up, is about letting the believer simply live out the inherent nature bestowed by God.
Yeah.
It's about identity flowing naturally into mission, acting as that functional, necessary bridge between a world that needs stabilizing and flavoring and the God who is the source of both.
Yeah. Identity translating into function.
And thinking back to that warning about salt losing its flavor, the source connects that directly to losing influence through compromise by blending in with the surrounding decay. So maybe we can leave you, the listener, with this final thought to mull over.
Okay.
In your own daily life, where do you feel the sharpest pressure to compromise your core principles? Where's the temptation strongest to just go with the flow? Maybe at work, maybe in your social interactions, maybe even in private choices. Because recognizing that specific pressure point and finding the courage to resist it, to hold on to your flavor right there, that might be the single most powerful way for you to function as salt and light in the world right now.
Something to really think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.